Do 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 do. Figured I'd go live just a little bit early here and make sure that my lighting looks good. Looks pretty good. Yeah, all right. Very cool. Just let folks get into the stream. And oh, there's already a couple people. Holy cow. Thank you all very much for showing up so fast. Hey, thank you very much, DeFingers. You're the man. Cheers. Appreciate the coffees. The coffees. Gonna let some folks get in here, and then we're gonna get right into it. Definitely gonna have a limit. Hello, David. Hello, the Josephs. Gonna get right into it, and I'm gonna talk. Hey, John, Gareth. Coffee with stream, exactly. Gonna talk. There was a little bit of extra news this week, and that I'm going to talk about. Not really very much. And then I'm going to talk about controllers again, because we got a lot of questions about controllers the other day, and I corralled a bunch. Many of them are sitting here on my table. It's kind of a mess of stuff, and we'll get into that in a little bit. How's everybody doing this morning? This Sunday morning here in Pennsylvania, it is raining and chilly, I guess you'd say. And a bottle of water too, just because, everything can't be everything without water. 18 people. Holy crap, that didn't take long at all. Goodness. Yes. I don't know why YouTube sent out by the lake. Very nice. That's awesome. I don't know why YouTube sends me a notification saying I'm live. I know I'm live. Exactly. Okay. So a bit of extra news. SRC on their Facebook page. Hello, RC Cartel. Thank you very much for showing up. SRC showed a few more pictures of their new LMP that's coming, the new Porsche. It looks really good. Hello, Mac. Having barbecue. Very cool. Excellent, Mac. Cheers. Cheers. Polish Racing Driver Association. Hello, Roland. Slotblog. Oh, man. Royalty in the house. Holy crap. Slotblog. That's the dude. Hey, there's Travis. Special congratulations to Travis, that slot car guy. If you don't follow him, go freaking follow him here on YouTube. That slot car guy just hit 1,000 subs. Seriously. Very cool. Very happy to give you a little bit of a shout out during these and help you get to 1,000. You deserve it. You're a great streamer and a great vlogger, and we need more guys like you. So we are going to jump right into it now. Forgive me if this is a bit of old hat to folks. If you're already in the hobby, you probably already have a controller. Hello, Bahan Bert. So basically, we all start out with this kind of controller. Now, I'm not making fun of Skelectric. This is a Skelectric controller. It's very basic. This, I think, is one of the, I forget, they recently just changed to from an older to a newer. This one has adjustments. Basically, what it is just like a gate that only allows you to change how much of the throw the controller will get. At minimum throw, that's for like beginners, and at the bottom, that's for the serious enthusiast. But basically, we all know these controllers have a very limited lifespan. Frankly, the wire on them is really, really light. The plug, well, what are you going to say? It's meant to be Hello, Robert. LEB in the house. Um, this is meant to be a very basic controller. It's meant to be as cheap as possible, to be in the set and still have a good life. That's just a fact. No one wants their controllers to fail, but these are fairly light duty, and you're going to want to move up fairly soon. Hello, Ray. Thank you very much for showing up, Ray. So some companies have sort of an upgraded controller. Now, this is an older SCX controller. This is actually a very old SCX controller. Their dual speed controller. I think this was a pretty cool idea because it had, well, first of all, the wire on it's actually pretty nice. And the plug was okay, it was adequate. But the feel on the trigger, the spring was actually really good. And there's a junior and an expert setting. I have this one taped down because I think I used this for a demo event years and years ago. And I have it taped on junior, of course. Or no, this one my son was playing with years ago. My son's 16 now. Yes. Terrifying, I know. And this is actually a pretty good controller. It's not bad. It's still really very basic. This could be a controller that you use for quite a while. It's not bad. It also feels really nice in your hand. But so kind of as you step up in the hobby, you pretty much want to get a better and better and better controller. One of the more popular types of controllers that you have that people really step up to nearly first. Now this one's very old. Don't make fun of me. This is an old Professor motor controller. This was like one of the first things. I think my uncle Rob Livingston bought this for me. 3-wire plugs, really robust construction, excellent wiper board. The spring feels nice. It's nice and heavy. It's also one thing I really like about this. It's like a complete product, right? Everything fits inside of the housing of the controller, which I think controllers need to focus a little more on that. I know they probably think they can't because they got to get all the guts hanging out all over the place, and that's the most miniaturization they can do for the price point. Whatever. So this controller is one of the first things, or a Professor motor controller is one of the first things that most people step up to when you're just kind of starting out, because it's frankly fairly cheap. Usually less than $100. I think at the time this one was maybe $50 or $60. And I've gotten, more than a decade's worth of use out of this thing. Good morning, Jeff. And this was from my SCX days, as you can see. I don't know why. I think because a lot of other people that I was racing with, probably at the club, had these, and I wanted to, make mine a little different. And I was probably working for SCX at the time. So this controller, it's robust as hell. It's excellent value. You make adjustments by undoing these sequentially, and you can get pretty fine adjustment on it. There's only one thing I don't like about it, and this is very nitpicky, but I have tiny hands, teeny tiny hands. I'm not a big guy. So when I hold this controller, these little, and you really can't see them terribly well, the edges of the controller, there we go, when I put my finger behind it, the edges of the controller kind of jab into the kind of the web of my hand, and holy cow, Harry, oh man, Harry and all these other, wow, that's amazing. Thank you very much for showing up, Harry. The controller kind of jabs into my hand. It's really uncomfortable. And if you're driving for a long time, and I put some cable ties on this to manage the 3 wires a little better. If you're driving this for a long time, that kind of jams into your hand, and it's pretty uncomfortable. But this is an excellent controller. You really can't go wrong. And if all you have is one of the standard controllers for your set, you need to step up to this level of basic, solid, essentially lasts for the rest of your life controller. It's really good. Other options. Now, this one's going a good Carrera digital wired aftermarket controller. Yes, Ramjet controller by Digital Racing Solutions. Just buy one, Rocket Bill, if they have them in stock. I believe they're sold out, but the Ramjet controller by Digital Racing Solutions, that is basically, I mean, I haven't used the Frankenslot one. From what I understand, it's quite good. I would, True Speed, yes. I haven't used one of those either. People say that's quite good as well. I assume those would be great. Yes, Ramjet is still alive. They sent me a controller. I did a video on it, and evidently they sold out of everything they had, and now it's been really hard for them to get more controller parts. They're waiting on, I think, the clamshells for the controllers. And yeah, hello Mark, thank you very much. Hello Brian, hello Sean, hello Rocket Bill, hello Area 51. Hello, hello, Robert Bridges. Anyway, yeah. So this is kind of an oddball. True Speed's most accurate. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean it's a great controller from what I hear. I've never used one, like I said, but anyway, MRRC. They made controllers briefly before I think his name was John. Passed away. He was really pushing. Hello, Shane. Thank you very much, Shane. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, man. MRRC made controllers. Now, these controllers were a very basic home set controller. I think this one is 30 ohms, 35 ohms. It says so on the resistor in here. This controller is basically the. I think this is the same. Controller clamshell that Third Eye uses, if I'm not mistaken. I could very well be mistaken. It's early, and I'm a little tired still. And so there's a lot of great things with this controller. There's a tension adjustment. There was a double trigger available for this as well. And this is an excellent basic controller. It's kind of equivalent to a Parma controller. Parma controllers are pretty hard to get from, because of what I understand, they're not really doing much anymore, because the guy that owns Parma is independently wealthy and doesn't really need to do things anymore to make money, which is a loss for us all, quite frankly. So MRRC controllers were mostly available in Europe, Spain. Oh yeah, man, it's late there. Yeah, I know, midnight. Yeah. They were mostly available in Europe. But they were really great controllers for the money. They were really cheap. They had a really nice cord on them. It's a 35 ohm controller with some extra little quality of life adjustments, let's say. If you find one of these for sale, they're going to be fairly cheap. And if you need a good basic controller to add on to the controllers that you have at your track, I'd pick one of these up. I've used this at the club. It's really basic. There's no brake adjustment, but it's definitely worth buying if you can find one, and just kind of as a slot car oddity, adding to the pile down there on the floor. Okay, next we're going to talk about another oddity. Most of you probably didn't know this. At one point, Fly made controllers. I think these are probably all fairly sold out now. This was kind of a step up from a very basic controller. Yeah, exactly. Is Ninka coming back? I kind of doubt it. This controller, this is one of the nice controller handles I've ever held. It's probably, it's the most comfortable for my hands. Teeny tiny hands. Again, teeny tiny hands. So I think this controller is definitely one of the most comfortable. It had some interesting things on it. I mean, it came with banana plugs, which is kind of standard in Europe. It's got an excellent cord on it, nice and stiff, or nice and thick, rather. The trigger is kind of rubberized here and then backed with hard plastic. It feels really good. The wiper board, now this is a 25 ohm controller. So again, this is a fairly basic controller with some key upgrades. Spring tension adjustment right here. Definitely an excellent quality of life upgrade. There's a heatsink on top, which is very cool, and two other things that make this really neat. One, broke off, and that's why I don't use this anymore. This is a brake adjustment, and the little tiny little knob, which just when it was a tiny little plastic thing, very poor design, went in right there, and you could do brake adjustment. Very cool. But this also had, and I don't know why people don't do this on other basic controllers. Here we go. Can we? Yep, it's on both sides. Can you guys read that? Polarity. It's got a polarity switch on the bottom. On the bottom. Look at that. And it's a nice switch. Does the switch even work still? Yes, it still works. A polarity switch. Holy shit. What a great idea. Yeah. I know you can change the wires around, but this has got a switch. This one goes to 11. It also feels nice and heavy, which as far as I'm concerned, a controller should feel nice and heavy. And yeah, I wish they would have kept making them. I think, was this called the Hammer? No, that was the Avant slot one. I had one of those. I sold that years ago. That controller I liked a lot anyway. So this was a Fly controller. I think they sold these separately. Now there were different parts available. I think there were different resistors they sold, and they sold this, I think, separately and with a car, I believe, as a package. This, I think, is unfortunately something, it's lost to time. I wish we could get this back, but we're not going to get it back. It's dead. Great controller. When I was with SCX, more into the pile. Hold on. But I have a question. Are you familiar with Skelectric Relationship? I am not. I know that they did. I know Travis did that slot car guy. Go follow Travis, that slot car guy. Travis did a video about the Quatrox cars, Takara, about those, the JDM cars, the Japanese domestic market cars. I don't really know much about that relationship. I know that there is no relationship anymore. So when I was with SCX, we decided to make one set with a better controller than a standard controller. And we contacted Parma, and we got a controller from us added to a set. Now, what kind of Sandy? I don't know, Sandy. I don't have Strombecker track. Rewire it and put any kind of 3-wire controller. You can go to slotcarcorner.com and get controller stations made, or controller hookups. I think they're still doing that. You can probably contact Robert at LEB. Maybe he could do something for you. But Strombecker's old stuff. I've never had a Strombecker set. Never raced on Strombecker. I apologize. Hello, Corey. So we made this. This was a basic controller that we added to one specific set. I think we called it a Pro set. And I think this is, probably a 30 ohm controller. I can't really see. Usually they're stamped on the top of the controller. But this is just a Parma controller with the standard 3.5 mil jack on it. And it plugged right in. The trigger was a little heavy on this, if I'm going to nitpick it. Hello, Clint. Thank you very much for showing up. Controller, the trigger's a little heavy on this. The spring's a little heavy. There's no spring adjustment. See, this is much more basic when you compare that with, let's say, the Fly one, which obviously was a little more money. I think this was about $100, and I think this would have been, this kind of Parma controller maybe would have been 50-ish. But you know, you're definitely getting a step up here. Yes, and the newer track, exactly, not the old plug where they had the three plug, the three ports. This was a different track connection piece, unfortunately, and this had that kind of 3.5 mil jack. Would be a good replacement aftermarket. Oh yeah, I mean, definitely the people have mentioned the True Speed controller. I've never tried it, but you know, I assume it's an excellent controller. There's a Frankenslot controller, and there is also the Ramjet controller. I think those are all sold out, but anyway. So this was an excellent basic controller that we added to a few sets. Now we decided to upgrade that even a little more and make another product when I was with SCX, and this was yet another one. What about Slotted? Yes, I'm actually going to talk about Slotted here in a second. Slotted is good. There's different modules. It's the basic SCP controller is good. It's very complex. And you need to, hello Lewis, hello Dewan, thank you very much for showing up. The slotted controller, I'll just get it out and talk about it now. This is the SCP-1. I also have a 1.1 somewhere, I don't know where. This one's set up for analog. There's 3 wires. No problem. When you set this up for digital, what you do is you buy a module, and it's the digital module or the digital modules, and you plug it in, and this you can then adapt basically any of the SCP controllers. You can adapt to basically any digital track, I think, because they tend to change the plugs around. Carrera doesn't, but unfortunately Scalextric does. The problem with digital and this is then that most of these controls don't work then. So like on Carrera, I think the what works on here, the lane change works, and I don't think any of the sensitivity adjustments work. It's very basic what will work because it's its own system. So that would be another good one for Carrera Digital, but it's not going to plug right in necessarily because you're going to have to buy the controller, which is about $100, and buy the module, which is another cost as well. So yeah, and Travis is right. The resistance on this, so he did something very different, and when he started making these, there's a magnet in here, and there's a magnet, or there's a piece of metal, or however you explain this. It's a magnetic adjustment. So it's a magnetic throw. So there's no wiper board. It's just the position of the arm tells you, or the position of the magnet tells the controller how much power to give it. The problem is there's very little feedback with this then. So like when you're racing with this kind of controller, what you hear, what you feel, is the feel of the car, basically. What we all think of as the feel of the car. Now this one, you can hear it. It's got this kind of grindy sound. Not particularly pleasing. This is an old controller, and I haven't used it in a long time. It needs to be, lubricated. That's right. Lubricated. So there's a definite feel to this, right? And that's a lot of the feedback that you get, is that feel, that trigger throw, the feel of the controller, the feel of the arm moving across the wiper board. With this, you get none of that. It's kind of numb. And that's the issue that I've always had with these controllers, is that lack of any feedback. It's a little disconcerting, I guess, or it's just something to. Yeah, exactly, Travis. It's just something you have to get used to. Also, these controllers are really very complex. I don't really know too many people who know how to use this controller thoroughly. There is a power trim. There's a minimum speed adjustment, which I think is the sensitivity adjustment. There's a brake adjustment, which is the brake adjustment. Then there's a curve adjustment. Then there is linear or curved adjustment as well. There's a lot of adjustment on here. And untethered wireless. Yes, exactly, Dewan. Yes. What's nice about this controller is you can get a wireless dongle for any track, plug it into any track, and run any track wirelessly, analog and digital. I raced with Maurizio's SCP-3 prototype controller when we were in Germany together years ago for Toy Fair, and it really was, and I raced it wirelessly on a Carrera analog track at Slot Connection in Germany. If the Slot Blog is still here, he knows the Slot Connection folks in Nuremberg. And I raced that controller wirelessly, and it felt really, really good. So I probably need to upgrade. I need to get an SCP at some point, an SCP-3 at some point, but I don't know, because, I've showed you the controller that I normally use. So anyway, when I was with SCX, we upgraded a little further from not only the basic controller. Now I've made some modifications in here to this one. I've kind of sculpted out the inside with a Dremel. That's why you see that kind of hazy. So this was the Pro controller that we made, again with the 3.5 mil plug. And again, this is just a Parma. I think this is I think a 25 ohm. I'm not really sure. I think Harry probably has a review. If you have the link to the review, Harry, please feel free to post it. These were great controllers, and it added a lot to the basic system just to have something, again, because you all see how many times people have asked. It just plugged right into a basic system and basic analog system, and it was able to give you a controller that you basically can't break these things. One more. And this is the one, I've talked about this controller before. I got a mess down there. This is the controller that I use. This is the DS PM controller, professional model controller. That's what that means. This is just a Parma grip. It feels nice and solid. Of course, I've talked about this before. It's got very basic adjustment. It is not super high tech. You're frankly not going to win a lot with this controller because your third eye type controller or DeFalco's, you're going to get, people are going to run rings around you if this is what you have. It's just a fact. I don't care. I'm not going to spend $300+ on a controller anymore. I'm just not. This is a very nice basic controller. It's probably better than Professor Motor controller, I feel. Certainly it's more comfortable for me because where your hand jams up against the back end, this is much, much, much smoother. Pretty much everybody here, I assume, would have a Parma controller. And the handle feels really nice. And it's definitely, it's really, really nice. So yeah, shouldn't have dropped that. That's what I was going to talk about with controllers. They're a very personal thing that you buy, and you need to try a bunch of different, exactly whatever the user prefers. You have to try a bunch of different ones before you find one that you really like and you kind of settle on. You see all the controllers I have there. Hello, Corey. Cheers. Thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it. All the controllers I have that I could use that I don't. Most of these are just, they've been in a box sitting forever. I should put them up somewhere. Put them up somewhere around here. And I just use the PM controller, the DS controller. It's good enough. And it feels really good in my hand. And, I've already talked about that. So, we're 30 minutes into this. I'm only going to, I think, hello, Kyle, thank you very much for showing up. I'm probably only going to go, 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the very most. I don't want to keep you all too long, and I don't want people that want to watch the replay to have to commit to more than an hour of video. So what else does anyone want to talk about? I know there are probably some questions out there. Ask me anything, as they say. How's everybody doing today, by the way? Everyone enjoying their weekend? I worked yesterday, shot some assignments for the newspaper, and Ninco, is Ninco coming back? I haven't heard anything about Ninco, really. I know some people there's still people selling Ninco. I'm not sure if this is new old stock or not, and I don't really know if Ninco is coming back. I would kind of doubt it. They were bought by a larger toy company, and I don't know. From what I've seen from their offerings online for other products, there's not a lot of slot products in there, and there's a lot of radio control products. And most of the radio control products to me look like market goods. I've talked about what market goods are before. They are products that you buy in China that you put your own name on, that you don't actually develop yourself, that you're just basically buying something that's made in China. Obviously, most slot cars are made in China. But so I think what Ninco is doing, the new company that's calling themselves Ninco, I think that Ninco is buying a lot of products now that are just products that aren't made by them technically. So I kind of doubt that they're going to really get back into slots in any meaningful way. Any news on the Skelectric 5.0 Fox bodies? Well, Calvin, so when I had worked there, I had talked, and I guess I can talk about this because it's not in development as far as I know. I had talked with Simon Owen, who was a guy that I talked about with, who I worked with while I was there, and we talked pretty extensively about doing the Fox body Mustang. We were going to start with the IROC, the Camaro, as a kind of mid-'80s car, and then go into making, but we couldn't do them in back-to-back years, so we wanted to do the Batmobile. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you very much for showing up. Hello, Lewis. We wanted to do the IROC, and then as a new U.S. mold, they wanted to introduce something else before doing the IROC and then the Mustang and then something else. So they wanted to do bigger marketplace for new cars than North America. Absolutely. The England, the UK is a much bigger market for Skelectric, probably 10 times bigger. So they wanted to do the IROC and then the Batmobile, which is essentially a US release, but it is a world release. And there were so many new molds this year, because I was still there when we were discussing what's coming out this year. So they wanted to do kit this year. They wanted, which is also obviously a US, even though it's a TV car. They wanted to do that. They wanted to do the DeLorean, which kind of was the year before. So there's really a whole lot of US molds coming out. At the 78, 79 Camaros. So they wanted to do, and so there's a whole lot of US molds coming out before the 5.0. I'm assuming, and this is dangerous because you know what happens when you assume. I'm assuming that the 5.0 is still in the plans. If Simon is watching, I dearly hope you're going to have the 5.0 still in the plans. I would expect they would do the 5.0 maybe next year. Hopefully. Okay, we got a bunch of questions here. Holy cow. Forgetting the home set sales, what is it? So you're just talking about car sales between Skelectric, Carrera, and others approximately. Okay. So overall sales for each of, boy, I don't know if I should talk about this exactly. And I've already talked about Carrera. So let's talk about that. Carrera's sales, domestic market sales, were about, overall, it was about $14 million a year when I left, maybe 15 million. And probably half of that was set sales direct to the mass market. So probably you're talking about $5 million domestically. Of that 5 million, probably a full million would have been in cars, maybe. That's yeah, I mean that's I don't want to talk about Skelectric because I do know the numbers, and I don't want to upset them because I don't want to be, I don't think they really announced those numbers, and I don't know if it would be cool for me to really talk about that. I'm sorry. I know I will say Skelectric's numbers and Carrera's numbers are they're the two biggest companies. There's really nobody else that is close. I mean, I know Slotit's numbers, Polycars. I know the distributors for Fly, for Sideways, most of them for NSR. For most of the market, I have a pretty good sense of what domestic sales are, and I can tell you that Skelectric and Carrera sales are many times that of anybody else's sales here in the U.S. Sets and cars. Thoughts on the best rattle can for slot cars? I'm not a great painter, as was evident by my lame attempt at painting one of the Polycars Monoposto cars pink. I tend to use Tamiya, but also, I mean, I worked for Hornby. Humbrol paint is really good paint. They make spray paint. Check out Humbrol's paint. They make some really nice stuff. Maybe next week. Am I here next week? Yes. I think I'm off next weekend. I don't think I have a baseball game. Well, I don't have one early. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit about spray paint maybe. Their Humbrol spray paint is really, really good. It lays flat. It covers nicely. And they got a lot of it here in the U.S. And I think you should check them out. What new release cars am I looking forward to? What new car? The C8. I'm shocked still that Skelectric, that Simon sent me some samples of cars. By the way, those cars are at a certain tire manufacturer for they're measuring the wheels. So there will be tires, aftermarket tires available immediately, as far as I know, for those cars when they come out, because those wheels are being measured as we speak. I don't have the new cars with me anymore. They've been sent along, and then I'm going to get them back. With the introduction of the 924, is there any word you might see a 944? The two things are not related. I understand why you might ask about one car because the other car is so similar. Robert, one of the things that's, and I'm not saying this to pick on you, it's super annoying if you're a manufacturer to see, okay, you just released car A. Well, what about car B? Let's do car B. I just released car A. I spent more than a year researching car A, getting the parts, getting the colors right, I don't want to talk about what might be something when I just did this. You understand? So what might happen? I don't know. I don't ask people those questions usually because I don't want to put them in a spot. And I'd frankly rather not know if I can't say, if that makes any sense. So might we see a 944? It would be great if we did. I'm not going to lie. And I don't mean to pick on you. I'm just saying that kind of question. And I know that's like the first question people say when, they get all excited. Oh, it's a new car. Oh, I want this. Well, you just got that. Let's think about that for a second. When Skelectric introduce a model, do they create a mold from scratch? Yes. There's no such thing as as like making a mold from another mold unless you are adapting a mold. Like, for example, we changed the mold for the slightly, I think, for the and here I am trying to think what to say. We changed the mold for the Javelin to do the police car, right? When you change a mold, it's hard to change it back then to do the previous version. So if you want to redo something, but you've already changed the mold, you've kind of screwed up the possibility of using it again. So yes, they would. Yes, to answer your question, yes, they would start basically from scratch. And obviously, if you're going from a 71, 72 Camaro to a 78, 79, now obviously the basic body lines are going to be very similar. Obviously, the overall dimensions are going to be fairly similar because there was minor deviation from, the first F body to what was essentially the last F body. So, yes, they would start from scratch. Yes, Rust-Oleum, fantastic. Who is bigger? Bigger where? Bigger in the U.S.? I would probably say Carrera as a brand, when I left them, was bigger here because we were selling more Carrera products than Hornby is selling of Scalextric products. I know that for a fact. A few times more. But that's because Carrera sells to mass market, or sold, they don't really anymore, sold to mass market, which is a tremendous volume of sets. Hundreds of thousands of sets, battery-operated sets and electric sets. If you're in the mass market and everybody else is not, that means you're the biggest, just because of the way the mass market buys. The mass market buys by the container, not by the piece. They buy by the pound, so much larger quantities, right? So if you're in the mass market, you're many times bigger than anybody else, just because, the hobby market is really quite small. It's, a few $1 million, but a few million low-end dollars, not over $10 million for the slot car folks. So it's very, 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 it's a big, big difference. Oh, hello, Charles. Sorry to change the subject. I'm waiting delivery on slot tank switch box. Both, I don't know about that product. You're talking about Carrera Digital, I assume. You don't mention it, but excuse me. Okay, I assume you're talking about Carrera. Let's see if I can piss off the guys that like to hate what I have to say about Carrera Digital. With Carrera Digital, and I've said this before, I've said this when I worked for Carrera, if anybody ever talked to me on the phone, I got this right from the guy who was one of the people that designed the system, and who was the guy in Germany, Michael Rogatz, who helped do consumer calls. If you're going to do digital and analog on the same track, and you have like the lane changes and the accessories plugged in and the accessory track pieces that plug in and the control unit, and you want to run analog, you must take all of that out. Now, here come the guys with the hate from the Carrera Digital side of things who say that I'm wrong. I'm not. I've seen plenty of times where people try to run analog and it damages something in the system. It just does. I worked for them for 8 years. I saw so many times someone would call me. Someone would say, hey, can I run Carrera Digital and analog on the same track? If I just unplug the one track piece and plug in the analog track piece and run it as it is, then this guy would call me back, a year later or whatever, and something would be broken. Can you warranty it? No, we're not going to warranty it. You did something we tell you not to do. It tells you in the instructions, which are terrible, by the way, but they are correct. It tells you in the instructions, do not run the digital pieces if you're going to run analog in the little pictograms. You shouldn't do it. You should take out the lane changes, the accessory connection piece track, I forget what it's called, the control unit, anything that's digital, take it out, please. if you've gotten away with it and it works for you, and you feel that I'm wrong because I'm saying you should take them out to be safer, I'm not wrong. It is safer, and you're lucky that something didn't break. There. Having said that, I don't know about the switch box because wasn't a Carrera thing. I wasn't buying aftermarket Carrera stuff to test with the system while I worked for them because I didn't work for the other companies. I worked for Carrera, and we were a plug-and-play company. They will always be a plug-and-play company. Do I like MJK tires? Yes, I love MJK tires. I was sent some a few years ago, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're rubber, correct? Or a mix. I absolutely love those tires. They're great. I haven't seen any new ones. I mean, it's got to be at least 10 years now. But I'm assuming that they're still being made, and I hope they are. I assume they are since Travis chimed in. Yeah, I mean they're great. They're absolutely great. I wish there was more. I wish they were here. I really do prefer rubber tires over rubber over like urethane and silicone tires, and obviously stock tires are, mostly bad. They're not usually mostly good. I would prefer rubber tires personally, but they slot tech box is a nightmare. Running your accessories, learn out of the clips and uninstall, then plug in. Yeah, Sean's got some good advice there. Yeah, I mean I'm not trying to piss people off, and you may think I'm wrong because I take a very conservative approach to what should be done, and what you can get away with are two totally different things, right? Should it be done? No. Can you get away with it? Probably. You shouldn't. It's just going to damage your digital stuff. My friend Clem, who I've talked about here multiple times, he had a 4-lane Carrera digital and analog track. The inner 2 lanes were analog, and the outer lane was digital. And then he had a switch to switch from digital to analog. And you know what happened? And I would give him sample. This is when I still work for Carrera. And I gave him control unit. I gave him, and I did the videos at his place that are on the Carrera of America YouTube channel. And I talk about how you do specifically the lap timer, right? The new lap timer, the box that plugs in. I talk about that in the video about how I'm there, and there's a big Carrera digital track. And then I show you how to use that, and that's Clem's track, right? And he had digital and analog that are mixed, and he would have a switch. They would go, yes, Clem is recovered. He's much better. He's still got some kind of long haul symptoms, I think, but he's an older guy, and he's had some health issues. But yes, thank you very much. Yes, I'll pass along your best wishes. Clem's a great guy. I love him, and yes, he is better. But he had a lot of problems with parts going bad on his digital track. Then he would run analog. Lane changes went bad. The control unit went bad. I would just give him stuff that I found in the trash, as we called it at Carrera, the return stuff that wasn't marketed, that wasn't saleable anymore. And I would give him more lane changes and, a control unit, whatever he needed, just to keep the track going again. But yeah, I mean, it absolutely, it damages the track. It just does. I'm sorry. It's not fun to say, and I don't enjoy it. But anyway, so we're going to wrap this up here, folks, because it's coming up on an hour. Thank you all very much. 48 people, 20 likes. Holy cow. Thanks a lot, folks. It means a lot. What are NSR tires are rubber, I believe. I'm not sure what the compound is, but I love NSR rubber tires. They're fantastic. It means a lot to have folks show up. I appreciate all the support this week with the nastiness. I know I shouldn't let it get to me, but it gets a little tiresome. The guy made this horrible comment in a recent video, and it just kind of got to me. And about a month ago, someone else made a comment in a video. I just delete them and block them because they're like if you don't like me, and I can understand people don't like me. There are people that don't like me. What can I do about that? Nothing. But if you don't like me, go away. Don't hang around and be a jerk. Anyway, end on a positive note. It means a lot to have everyone show up. I will continue to do streams, and at the end of the month, I'm hoping to in IndyCar Detroit. Oh yeah, IndyCar. That's another topic to talk about at some point. How lame Indy is with their marketing. I will be going to the IMSA race, the 6 Hours of the Glen, I believe, thanks to a slot brother. Thank you very much, Jeff. He's getting me a pass through, I believe, through IMSA. I've gone to the races before, and a couple of years ago, 2018, I guess I went, and it was great. I don't have technically a photo pass, but the good thing about the Glen is you really don't need to. Sorry, Brian, I don't have any, but Robert is here from LEB. He is they're really my only sponsor. They sponsor the news video that I do, and I do some consulting work for them, despite what I've been accused of. I am not an employee of theirs. I don't know why people would think that. LEB might be doing Father's Day sale. Robert, if you are, please feel free to spam away and check out the LEB Facebook page if there's something going on. Since I'm the one that maintains their Facebook page for them, I will post it there. I don't know, Slot Car Corner, the folks there support me. I don't know if they're doing anything. Who else supports me? Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah, Skelectric USA, they do send me stuff. Of course, they send me a lot of cars. I'm very grateful for that. They don't have sales directly to the public, so I don't know if there's going to be anything that they're going to be doing. Probably not, because they don't do direct sales to the public. Thank you all very much. Going to end it here. Thank you again, DeFingers, to John, who sent me a tip through Buy Me a Coffee. That's a tip service that I use that helps me keep going on the streams, get some new gear here and there. And if you want to support me directly, it's much appreciated. buymeacoffee.com/slotcarnews, or go to buymeacoffee.com and look for Slot Car News. I really appreciate all the support, folks. Thank you. See you all again soon.